In this episode, we're going to talk about the 4 campaigns that are getting 60% reply rates in 2021. It's backed by data. Here we go.
40 to 60%. I'm
40 to
Jeremy, founder of quickmail.io.
Hey, and I'm Jack, founder at salesbread.com, the agency that brings B2B companies one lead a day. If you have a defined target audience you're going after and want some help booking appointments, go to salesbread.com/contact and
That's
we'll
right.
do a little brainstorming.
Do it.
All right, Jeremy, you're still working on your one-liner. I'm going to hold you to that in the next couple episodes.
Yes, shit. I will come up with a one-liner at some point. So this is kind of a water cooler episode. It's been a very long time. We haven't done it. This is, 2021. There's a lot of things to talk about. And I thought we could kick it off with those 4 great type of campaigns that we know were working last year. And I know it was working because this last 2 weeks during my holiday, I decided to just have a quick look at all the campaigns that were doing really, really well last year. And so I came up with those 4 different type of campaigns.
Jeremy, I'll say thank you on behalf of the listeners for working hard during the break. I built a bookshelf, so I wasn't as much value. But with that, let's run with it. I'm definitely interested to find out what those 4 were. Now, just to be clear, these were the best of the best in essentially like Q4 of 2020, more or less.
No, this is across the entire year.
Across the year.
Right.
Okay.
But, most of the year has been impacted by COVID. So it's not like if they were like crushing it in January and February and March, it is more or less during pandemic. Yeah.
Okay. So if we didn't have that pandemic, the stats may be closer to 50 to 70%, maybe.
Oh, I'm not quite sure, actually. If I look when you look at the stats, the pandemic actually in March or April, like you had like a big dip in terms of open rate, reply rate, and so on. Then everything just rushed back up, and then everything just normalized. Right. It's like the new norm for me, and then more people are online, but I don't really see much difference in terms of the reply rate.
Okay, good to know. Good to know also for those skeptics out there that have never really tried cold email. Yes, cold email still works here in 2021. Now, I've got the list of the top 4 performing campaigns, and you were nice enough to put them in buckets, right? So it wasn't that you just took the 4 best campaigns, the 4 best types of campaigns, right?
Yeah, because obviously, given the number of campaigns we have on our system, then there are, a lot. And even if when you sort of like try to narrow them down between like 40 and 60%, I didn't want more because sometimes, there are things like I contact my own list and stuff like that. And it's not quite the outreach that we want to look at. So I put between 40 and 60, which I think it's very reasonable. And I went through many of them. I didn't went through all of them because obviously, like I mentioned, there is a lot of them. And it was very apparent that there were some type of campaigns that were like performing very, very well. And you could see again and again and again popping up.
So you saw the patterns there. Okay.
Yep.
So how our listeners may be wondering, Jeremy, how reliable are these numbers? What kind of criteria did you...
It's reply rate.
For example, yeah, it's reply rate. But what if, somebody's like, well, maybe they have 10 prospects on their list, right? And so...
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. And it's great that you're bringing that up because obviously I didn't took any campaign that has less than, I believe, 200 prospects in it. Right.
Cool. So if it works for 200, then it's more reliable than probably most. Okay.
Yeah, and to be fair, most of them, like I mentioned, this is a group of or a theme, shall I say, or category, whatever you want to call it. And you have some with 200, but you have some with 2,000 and stuff. So it's kind of it works in smallest size as well as bigger size. But how about we jump in, right?
Yeah. I'd like to stall for a couple more minutes. Let's do it. Are they in any particular order?
More or less the one I found. You can reach great reply rate no matter which one, because I think the underlying psychology is again, you can even like put them into less bucket if you think about the underlying psychology. I could find 2 buckets out of those 4. Yeah.
Well, without further ado, let's
Number
get
1.
into it. Yeah, number 1, buying businesses. Buying businesses. So campaigns that are inquiring about purchasing the company, and I'm guessing they're reaching out to the owner or the CEO, right?
Yes, and it's not really a hard sell. And this actually I give you could actually have been boosted by the pandemic, right? It could have been boosted by COVID in a sense that a lot of businesses were like fragilized. Fragilized? Is that even an English word? I don't think so. But fragilized or become
is it any word?
Anyway, they become like sort of like more susceptible to go bust, right? Or
right.
they were not as strong unless you're Zoom or some other stuff like that. But so maybe founder were saying like, okay, well, this is a challenge maybe I don't want to deal with, or I've been doing like 6 years already on my SaaS. Maybe it's time to sell, after all, and try to enjoy the time off. Point is that it's not really a hard sell. It's like, hey Jack, I'm going to give you money for your business. Shall we talk? Like, right?
It's pretty cool. So I actually ran one of these campaigns in 2020, and I'm proud of the stat. It's we got a 32% not reply rate, but meeting rate with all the prospects on our list. So we were really pumped up about that.
Look at that.
So a good year for business buyers. In fact, one of our clients was a business broker. Long story short, it was a very competitive year for business buyers simply because of the facts you mentioned. A lot of businesses were like, I can't take another pandemic, I'm selling. But then also tons of business buyers in 2020 were like, ooh, businesses are going to be willing to sell for cheap. Let's go after them hard. So there was actually a lot of competition to get these kinds of replies. In fact, I know some of the responses were like, hey, I've already entertained a lot of talks like this. I hope you guys are coming with real numbers here, whatever. But even still, you can see they got better than 40% response rate. So good year for buying a biz. Should we?
Well, not just that, because you could be saying like, okay, that's nice, Jeremy, Jack, but like, I'm not looking to buy a business. But if you have a business, let's say QuickMail, for example, and you actually contact other businesses in your same ecosystem. Let's say, for example, I contact Neverbounce, which is, an email verification, software. And I say like, hey guys, we're looking to acquire, companies in this ecosystem, for example, shall we chat? And the interesting thing is that this will open the door straight away. It's like, because you come with something sort of like legit, it's like, hey, I'm willing to put money on the table. Should we chat? And even if it's a no, they may actually tell you. It's like, well, no, we're not really looking for buying. And you could say, you can then come back with a different angle and say, well, in this case, maybe there is some stuff to do together. Like, how is your marketing? Like, should we do a joint venture, a joint webinar, or some stuff like that, or an affiliate program or whatever? So you actually come in from a different angle that people are very receptive to, and then you pitch them something that they may not have replied to on the first step.
What do they call that? Foot in the door technique, where you go for something small and then you continue later. There's it's my number one favorite sales psychology study where, and this is all an influence, by the way, Jeremy, you've already heard this, but
the small panel.
Yeah, exactly. So they wanted to see what they would get someone to put a big billboard in their lawn that said "drive carefully" or "drive sober" or something.
Yeah.
They found that just like asking, "Can we put this giant billboard? It's 9 feet by 12 feet." Everyone said no, but they're like, "Can we put a small sticker in your window?" And everyone's like, "Sure." And then they came back to him a month later. "Hey, we want to up this. Can we put a sign here? It's pretty big." Yeah, sure. And so that works. We're still simple animals.
And I think the psychology behind is not that very, it's not that very like rocket science in a sense. Like, when people come with a big request, you're kind of like, I don't know you, we haven't built the trust yet, and stuff like that. And so you could start small. And if you start small, then the relationship develop. And I think that's good advice.
Sounds funny to say start small by offering to buy the business. and then work your way down. You'll
You're
have to
right.
come
Maybe it doesn't
prepared.
apply. Maybe it doesn't apply.
All right, number 2, re-engaging. Can we move on to number 2?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I'm happy. Number 2.
Here we go.
Do you want to say it
Re-engaging.
straight away or?
I'd like to stall for another 3 minutes, please. Re-engaging your LinkedIn connections by email. So can I read the sample you have there?
Yeah, it's not really outreach per se, because you're already connected to them, but very often you just like sent a connection invite a long time ago and they're pretty much cool as as it could be.
Yeah, so there's a couple advantages to a campaign like this. And by the way, that's kind of like, hey, we're first degree connections on LinkedIn, instead of reach out from time to time, boom, whatever. Number one, you have, in my opinion, their preferred email address to engage with them about work type stuff, because they designated that email to be their preferred contact method on their LinkedIn profile for only their network. So you're already in the right inbox. Number 2, commitment and consistency. People that we've agreed to let in our network it's almost like we expect them to reach out, and there's a thing going on already because we've said, okay, come on in. Even if the act is just accept, I think there's a closer relationship than a cold stranger.
Yeah.
So are there any other advantages you can point out here why this may be working nicely?
I think, I'm saying re-engaging, but I think one of the things that works super well is the sort of like, thanks for connecting. Let's move on to email as a chat, right? Like, for example, is you ask for connection, they connect, and then you send, a casual email like, hey, thanks for connecting, by the way, XYZ, should we move to the sort of like next step? It's like the typical analogy about dating and marrying someone. You start small and then you keep building up. And I think that's a good step. And I'm not really quite sure why it works so well, but it does.
Yeah, I've got some thoughts on this particular approach of, if somebody allows me to connect with them, I will start by trying to engage them on LinkedIn because it's right there, and we know they're active there. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't work, by all means, this can work nicely too. But it's typically not my go-to, just because I'll try them first on the platform I know they're there. But yeah, I mean, the stats don't lie. 40 to 60% people will reply to messages like this. So if you have people that you want to do business with in your first degree, it may not be the worst idea to grab their email and plug them in here.
Do you know what's interesting, actually, Jack, is that very often when I connect with people on LinkedIn, they don't reply to the messages. They say, oh, I'm not often on LinkedIn. So that's a great indicator to me that people are just using LinkedIn as a sort of like address book, and they're not necessarily like, engaging necessarily in LinkedIn. So you do have people, obviously, that spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. And
so the side benefit is a lot of users on LinkedIn leave their permissions so that if somebody messages them on LinkedIn, they will also send them an email about it. So though it's sort of like LinkedIn's trick to get more users back onto their platform. So they'll be like, oh, so-and-so just sent you a message, and it's like view message, and it opens up the LinkedIn thing, right? LinkedIn actually wants that kind of thing to happen. So they get those not really active users back on. So they'll help you out by emailing them once you message. But again, stats don't lie. This works well also.
Yep.
Any advice for somebody who's like, oh, I want to try this out on someone I connected with 6 months ago, but I haven't really done anything on LinkedIn? Can I still use this?
I think what you told me one day, to re-engage your list and just tell them like, like, look, I know I haven't been sending a lot of email recently. So you're sort of like, coming out straight. And you say, but in the future, I plan to send way more emails. So, if you don't want to, just let me know. I think it's it's a great way of sort of like re-engaging people and just remind them, like as a reminder, this is what I do and offer, on a regular basis. And if you come up
Yeah.
sort of like straight with people, I think people appreciate that. I definitely do. I would probably unsubscribe because that's me, but most people don't.
But I'm actually thinking, like, let's say you just wanted to get a meeting with this person. It might not make sense to say I'll be sending more messages. You know what I mean? If let's say you and I connected, right?
Of course, that may be a different strategy for LinkedIn. I'm saying like the same psychology could be applied that
Right.
to that, and it could be much faster. It could be like, I happen to have a few slots as for clients recently, due to, I don't know, COVID or whatever. Should we actually have a chat, or is that still a problem for you? And I think that works fine.
You know what I would try is I'm stealing this from one of my favorite show listeners and also a guest who was on our show, Greg Rosner at Pitch Kitchen. What's up, Greg? This clever guy, he would re-engage his LinkedIn network on holidays. So it's like, hey, it's been forever, but Happy New Year. Hope 2021 is going to be great for you. How are what's new on your end? We haven't spoken much, and he's like, man, I got so much engagement on that like simple Happy New Year message.
Yeah.
And maybe let the calendar help you break the ice. I
like that.
Yeah. How nice. Okay. Two down. Here we go. Number 3, providing a job opportunity. Something like, headhunters and staffing agencies are probably already doing hardcore, but yeah, based on your background, blah, 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 might want to be interviewing. You'd be a perfect fit for this spot that offers X salary, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's some stuff like, hey, this opportunity turned up. So again, this is not like a pure outreach in a sense that most of those that work super well, they sort of like contact people they already contacted in the past somehow, but not always. And so I think if you, I don't know, if you're a zookeeper and you have some pandas to be taken care of, and you say like, hey, Jack, will you... Okay, it's a terrible analogy. I should have got that. Oh, I tried. I failed.
Straight face.
So, anyway, so usually this is in tech, but not only. And so obviously there's like something just, it's always like timing in those conversations. Like something just popped up, and I think you'll be a great fit for it, Jack. Should we talk? And obviously, that's a great thing. Or like, are you still happy where you are? Or I'm trying to recruit the best, I don't know, agency for XYZ. Something popped up. We have like 2 slots. Does that make sense that we discuss or we talk?
Sure.
Works well.
Kind of this idea that a good opportunity has arisen and it's time sensitive and it's very valuable. It could change their life if they like it. Which, by the way, Jeremy, since this is a water cooler chat, let's take it a little bit horizontally right now. So there was a company that was scraping LinkedIn to get analytics on the churn rate of employees to give to recruiters to know, this person's nice. A data scientist who's been here at 6 years. Well, most data scientists look for work every 7. So this is good. You know what I mean? And actually, the reason they came up on my radar was they were the ones who went to court after scraping LinkedIn. Do you remember this? It was the data privacy or open data ruling that went against LinkedIn's favor.
Yeah, I remember.
I'm just wondering, have you heard any other lawsuits? Are we moving a couple steps in the open LinkedIn direction? Are scrapers happier 2021 than they were?
That's a good question. I was asking myself the same actually not so long ago, but my conclusion was that LinkedIn just added more security things all around rather than actually relying on the legal system, right?
So they attacked it with programmers and computer scientists as opposed to legal. I love that. That's great. because their PhDs are good, but web scrapers are equally as hacky,
Yeah,
right?
now it's actually very difficult. Like sometime I want to check out people without them knowing that it's me. And so I just open an incognito and then I check out, especially people doing outreach to me, because I don't want to encourage them. And when I look at it, it's like, it's very difficult sometimes with LinkedIn. There's like, it's like, oh, you got to sign up, you got to join in or log in in order to view this page. And that's like, that's annoying.
Yeah, before it was like, I don't know, you could be this bulldozer and just like use a bunch of different IPs and attack them. But now it's maybe
Yeah, you probably
scrapers need to be more of the ninja, more
need
finesse,
a login.
or just more actual users visiting lower volume of pages, probably. But a nice aside, thanks for the update there.
Yeah, thanks for bringing us there.
You're welcome. We got a last one here, number 4, providing an audience. So
that one
something
we've been using.
I mean, I've used this doing outreach, like, hey, John Carlton, you want to come on our podcast? I mean, that was a one try, one yes, 100% response rate. So that was cool. Probably, hey, can I get your quote to include in this article for our link builders out there? I'm sure they would probably do something like this. Did I nail the use cases for providing an audience? Is it basically get someone on your thing platform?
Yeah, it's basically, I have an audience that you may be interested in, and, I'm giving you access to it, whether it's through an article, a guest blog, or a podcast interview, all those sort of things. And, people are craving for it. So they'll jump on it.
Right. I might say this is going to be my guess for the most effective campaign out of anyone we've mentioned here, because assuming you're reaching out to someone who likes publicity, and that's very easy to do, and that's basically find someone who's putting content out there, then this is the easiest thing to respond to, in my opinion. Buying a business could be number
low effort,
2.
It's like, how much effort? Like, Jack, can you give me a quote? How much effort is it? And that could potentially give you like a few clients. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not that big a deal. Let's do it.
Exactly. So what's the takeaway if somebody doesn't have an audience, Jeremy? It helps to have one. So maybe start building one. It's an asset.
Yes, it's not that you have to use it. You could be bending toward the Nathan Latka style, which is like you bend the truth and you say like, I'm hoping we are going to get 1 million download by the end of the year, even for you, you don't have any download at that time. That's one way to do it. Probably not my preferred one. I like to be straight with people without trying gray lining stuff. But
I don't even think you need to do that. I know a couple, and I know enough people who just are starting
have an
a
audience
show
anyway. It's like, who do you care if I got like 1 million listener or I got like 2 people that probably want your service right now? Which one would you pick? Right. So you don't have to think in like
very vain, Jeremy. I'll probably pick 1 million.
1 million follower or 3 clients, like for sure.
Yeah,
like,
1 million bots that
exactly.
engage, right? No, I actually think I have enough eyes on campaigns for, let's say, podcasts that just started that just said, hey, I'm starting a podcast. Do you want to join? Those work well enough. And I think the appeal is an ego boost more than anything else, because just the simple act of getting featured on a blog or getting interviewed has some benefit there. It's a feather in the cap, so to speak. So unless you're going after someone very discerning on what shows that they appear on, for example, you may not even need to tell them how big the audience is. I know that young shows can do this approach and it still works.
Yeah.
which is nice. At
Plus,
least 2021. Yeah.
you could always do the stepping stone thing, right? So you start with people who don't get that much exposure, and you could do things. I mean, at some point, I think Noah Kagan was doing that. Is just basically try to find sort of like diamond in the rough, like small people that no one knows about, and then you just like put them publicly,
Yeah.
and that's the sort of like curating type of approach of content.
Right.
Like you
Right.
grab things, and that works too. And what I think is important as sort of like takeaway is that in all those campaigns, it's very easy, except probably the LinkedIn re-engagement, but it's very easy to get the value up front. It's like I come in, and it's not like, hey, I need 10 people on my podcast. It's not that. It's like, hey, I can give you an audience. Or what are the other one? Buying a business is like, hey, I got money on the table. It's not like, hey, I'm trying to make more money. Can I buy your business? It's like, that'd be weird, right? And I think that's a good mindset to have when we're doing outreach. Is like, what can you actually put in your, in your recipient view, a lot of value. What can you actually give that they
Yeah.
might perceive as
Upfront.
immediate
Upfront.
value and ridiculous value to reply.
Yeah. If you ever have a campaign like that, I would put you in the top 10% of outbound, but I'm also going to say more businesses than you think can actually create campaigns like this. Like
Yeah.
we interviewed a sales VP not too long ago, and he was selling some kind of software. But when COVID hit, they had their strongest month ever by just reaching out to their target audience that happened to have brick and mortar businesses and say, hey, we've actually got a vendor that can assist with COVID supplies. Do you want to buy anything? And we'll just
I remember.
hook you
Yeah.
guys up. And that connection was what they used later to be like, oh, okay, and your business may want the software. Should we have a chat about it once their foot was in the door? So that's probably the $1 million question, meaning the strategy that you should spend the most amount of time answering is like, how can you make this campaign full of upfront value for the prospect? And it's going to take you way beyond the, hey, my name is Jack and I sell lead generation. So
My name is.
if you turn it on its head and say, what would this person freak out if we put it in an email, then you're on the right track.
Yeah. That reminds me the AppSumo, email. The first one, actually, the rest were actually not that good.
Yeah.
But the first one was like, do you want to be in front of, 850,000 buyers? It's like, that sounds like an interesting deal.
Yes.
They
You
didn't
have my
say like,
attention.
they didn't say like, we are trying, we are getting 70% of, everyone's money. So we need more people. It was like, they didn't put it as them. They put it as you.
Correct.
And then I like
Correct.
that.
But they could have even went with a lamer value prop, right? Let me think of one for a moment. They could have said, join the ranks of
Yes.
these great software companies that we've worked with before. Like, okay, that's establishing credibility, but that's not really what's making people tick, right? It's all about finding more users that'll pay money at the end of the day for them. So
Well said.
how long have we been talking about this idea of like sweetening the offer? Probably early 2016 when we were doing that mastermind group, right? I mean, that's how good outreach starts. And here we are, however many years, still saying it. So I think these 4 campaigns are a great example. And luckily, we don't have to sell them to anyone. You know the stats, right? 40 to 6% reply rates.
I think the job worked very well as well because of COVID. So you may be right on this one. It may be that, this year with everyone, position not being so certain or so stable, maybe they're like, okay, well, I want to at least grow my network. So it could be, sort of opportunistic type of campaign for that year. But I'm curious to see what will work in 2021. Because I'm sure other things will come up. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the influence factor, is going to be upfront value. I think one of the difficult thing as there are more and more value that are given. I'm curious what you think about that. But as more and more people start to jump on that train to, okay, it's not about me, it's about the recipient. Let me grab some, give lots of value. I'm afraid that at some point it'll be like so ridiculously high that people won't believe it anymore, right? It's like, hey, I give you, $1,000 if you take a meeting
Reply
with
to
me. It's
this.
like, yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, are you sure? And I think that's the sort of like risk of like, keeping on increasing um,
Yeah, but think
the
about it
stake.
this way. It's like, can you imagine a year where this message wouldn't get a reply, for example? Hey, John, Jeremy had a lot of good things to mention about you, and he put us in contact. Thought you'd be a great person to ask question about XYZ. Could I get a couple minutes to chat with you about it? In other words, fast forward to the most ridiculous, gloomy future that you can imagine, and probably a referral email will still work, right? Probably.
I think it's still even one step higher because you and I have a great connection. So, there's all those things like even actually it happened to me actually. When there's someone introduced and say, hey, he's Jeremy, he's the founder of QuickMail. You should definitely have a chat with him. He's really awesome. He's great, whatever. His software is awesome, blah, blah, blah. I went on the call and it was so obvious the guy just didn't want to talk to me. It was just like in the middle of doing thing, and he was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I said at some point, like, hey, just casually, why did you take the call, by the way? And he say, well, my great friend introduced, and so I had to take the call. So it was like, okay. So,
it's almost too powerful.
yeah, it could happen.
Yeah. So the game will always be, I don't know, relationships are how you're going to do sales in the B2B space at some fashion or another. So,
okay, this is a water cooler. I want to drop something. The GTP3 or something like that. I can't remember the exact letters. You heard about this? Like the OpenAI?
you're going to have to explain it to me from scratch.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know
maybe the
anything about
listeners
this.
too. But there is a sort of like AI thing that can generate some conversation or even like impersonate some people. And
Oh, wait, is it the voice one or is it
no, it's just text.
creating?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
just
so I
text. But
know Alan NLP. There's another like neuro-linguistic library,
programming.
blah blah blah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm with you.
It's something else. So this is like AI based, and you basically say, let's have Gary Vay having a conversation trying to sell a sandwich to Elon Musk.
Bill Clinton. Oh yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Right. And then they will start, a conversation. They will grab the information on the net of how they are speaking. And it's just like it produced something, and it's like, holy moly, this is just insane. And I'm thinking that at some point we're gonna receive email. We wouldn't know if this is real or not at all. And it could be like this next level of personalization. But hey, maybe.
So I would say to that, if it was relevant, would you really care if it was a real person or not? Meaning, if there was a business buyer who was a robot saying, hey, Jeremy, I'm AI seeking to find profitable cold email tools to purchase. I'm not a real person, but I'm calculating your business worth, however many million. Should we have a virtual chat? I mean, that's a weird world, but
it will be very weird. And yeah, it is GPT-3 if you want to check it out. Yeah. And yeah, we're probably going to use it for analyzing the replies automatically.
Yeah,
you could also do that.
You're probably already seeing it with the Gmail recommendation, the reply recommendations, the LinkedIn comment recommendations, the Slack like pre-made text snippets, like Grammarly or something. Like, we'll be writing less in the future.
You'll be that person that types just one letter and tab, and you got the entire.
Or it's just like you access the chip that's in your cerebral cortex to put the sentence there better than you would have written. No, but hold on. But I almost said, oh, well, Jeremy, whenever that day comes, in order to break through, then we'll just use video. We'll make a Loom video and get through to them. But now there's AI that Yeah, you can like change the mouth and sound at certain parts of the video. So you can say, "Hey, John," and then cut it, and it'll be any name you want, and it'll change your. So actually, somebody pitched me like, "Jack, can you help us sell this product through cold email?" And I was like, "This is weird. This is like that." It was basically like make one video and send a personalized video that uses their name and all the snippets you can send in an email, but video. And I was just like, it felt weird, like that was just, I'm not sure what role this is. So in the future, we'll have to overcome some hurdles there. Maybe it'll just say this was bot generated, or, like an email signature, you can tell if it was sent through one at a time or an API. Maybe that's, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what 2021 and the future brings.
2050.
Yeah.
Let's see.
All right. Well, hopefully you're still tuning in 2050.
Yeah, we'll be there, like grandpas.
Or just my voice will be there, and I'll just be
Yes,
existing
we'll
in
be
this
true
void.
AI. That'd be funny.
Oh, that would be weird. Okay.
GPT-3 AI speaking to each other. That could be fun. All right.
Definitely futuristic. Fun with the jury's still out, but either way, from a human, this was a fun cast. Thanks, Jeremy. And if you've made it this far, you probably like the content of the podcast. So I encourage you, if you want a little bit more, check out course.quickmail.io for everything we know about cold email and lead generation bundled up in a nice, neat, easy to digest course that'll make you a smarter, more profitable outbounder.
Yes, and speaking of which, actually, we did do 2 campaigns with Jack about exactly offering, value up front. And if you want to see how we came from basically the beginning to the end, you will also find that in the course. If this is something, if you want to dig a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah, there are a couple hour-long-ish segments in the email content writing modules. I think it's week 4 and 5. So take a look, course.quickmail.io. Jeremy, thank you.
Yeah, great cast, Jack.
Sweet.
Thanks.
Bye.